Hey guys, thank you again for joining us for another exciting episode of YOMO. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So today we're doing Reflection 303, and the reflection today is about tennis. Chris's quote.
Yeah, right. Literally. So this book, we just finished The Obstacle is the Way 2 books ago, right? And I told you all at the end of it, in the second part of the reflection, like be prepared for a run of, Ryan Holiday recommended books to going forward. So John McPhee was an author I'd never heard of before. Do you know who John McPhee is?
No, I may have heard his name, but I probably don't know who he is.
He's like a nonfiction writer. I'd never heard of him before Ryan Holiday mentioned him, but he's considered to be one of the pioneers of creative nonfiction. I don't know, he was a prolific writer and just wrote about random shit all the time. And it was like super dry topics that he somehow could take and turn into like
Was he Bill Bryson?
I was just about to say he was like Bill. Apparently, he's like Bill Bryson before Bill Bryson.
You're talking Bill Bryson as John McPhee-esque.
Yeah, I guess you could probably say that because he's 92 years old now. He's still alive. I had never heard of this guy before. Apparently, Ryan Holiday is a fan of him, right? He had mentioned in this recording I heard with him after the Tim Ferriss conversation after the book was over, where he was like, "Man, this guy could just take any topic and he could talk about anything." One of the Tim Ferriss chimed in and he goes, "Yeah, I remember one of the books he wrote was this book about just a tennis match, one single tennis match that he turned into an entire book, a thing where he like point by point, like broke it all down and like, and I was like, what is this book?" I was like, I got to hear this one. So it's this book called Levels of the Game by the author John McPhee. That was obviously like a quick, easy one for me to immediately download and buy, and I loved it. So this book is about the American shad. It's a fish. The whole book's about the shad. And it was pretty interesting. I actually learned a lot from it. But this book was about this book called Levels of the Game by John McPhee. So this is literally just about a U.S. Open. I think it was a semifinal match. I don't think it was the finals between Arthur Ashe and Clark Gravener at Forest Hills. Is the old U.S. Open site in New York. It was called the Forest Hills Country Club, and they used to play on grass, I think, back in the day, back when 1968. Now it's at the Billie Jean King National Tennis Center in Queens, and it's a way bigger facility. And they moved there a long time ago, but this is when like the U.S. Open used to be at the Forest Hills facility. So this match is a stroke-by-stroke description while examining backgrounds and attitudes that have molded the player's games. As he's going through point by point and describing it in the book, he then talks about Arthur Ashe's life growing up and how like his life and Clark Gravener's life and how they're just their different backgrounds and how they came to be into the game, and then I'll jump back into the match and point by point going through like what's going on and like giving you a synopsis. For me it was a really fun book. Like I really enjoyed it. It was literally just him talking about one match. Like I mean it is true. It was like seems like this guy could take any topic and make it somewhat seemingly interesting, a la Bill Bryson, right? Like I just finished a Bill Bryson book this week called One Summer about 1927 in America, about Charles Lindbergh and about the stock market crash beginnings, of like the setting stuff into motion, prohibition, Babe Ruth and the home run chase between him and Lou Gehrig and, a few other things. Like Bill Bryson just like exactly like this. It's like he just picked a summer in 1927 in America and wrote about all the things that went on and all the things that didn't go on and how we got to where we
talk about a table.
Right, pretty much. He did that actually in the book At Home, the short history of of your personal life. Do you know why they call it a boardroom?
Because has boards, has table.
Nope. The table used to be like when you would come into a main when homes were designed, there was a main like room for like a big dining hall, right? And it was just usually like a big board that was that everybody sat around. That was just bookended, kind of like a table, right? So everything needed to be above board, right? So that's why it's the board room. The room where the big board sits in, and being above board means like your hands above the board, so everybody could see what was going on or what wasn't going on, kind of thing. And I was like, holy shit, like it's crap like that you learn from Bill Bryson. And you're like, to your point, it's a joke, but like you said, they can talk about a table and make it interesting. It's pretty remarkable. All right, so this reflection title is Tennis is a Fight of Character. So as we've talked about, and as you know, I probably talk way too much about like tennis and pickleball these days and stuff like that, but I love it. Like it's like I'm a lifelong tennis fan, enthusiast, player, and I feel like for me personally, one of the reasons why I love the game the most is it's like the ultimate outward expression of who I feel on the inside comes out when I'm playing tennis. And I see it with every other player that you see. When I watch tennis, you can just tell these people's personalities. Like what would be revealed when you get sliced open? Like in tennis, you get sliced open and it's a fight. It's a dog fight, and you get hurt. You physically are hurting, you're struggling, you're enduring, you're doing all these other stuff. And what comes out of you is you. It doesn't matter if you went in wanting to try to be somebody else. When you get into the thick of it and you get sliced open, your elephant takes over. It's kind of a remarkable thing to see. There's an old quote, how you do anything is how you do everything. And tennis is a great example. I try my best. I've told you this a million times. I would love to be the person that's, a little bit more quiet and reserved and just observing, taking everything in, being very somebody that goes and sees the Mona Lisa and sits there for 3 hours and just stares and tries to pick out every nuance or something like that in the Louvre. I'm the guy that goes into the Mona Lisa exhibit hall at the Louvre, which literally happened. And there was a big crowd of people around there. And I walked in with my wife, and 2 seconds later, I was like, oh, well, there's Mona Lisa. Okay, you ready to go? I don't have it in me for whatever reason, to be that patient, quiet, reserved, I don't want to say low energy, but the person I'm describing, in theory, in my mind, sometimes I'm like, man, I'd love to be not me, sometimes, right?
That's the devil's talking.
It is. Yeah. But it's because I feel self-conscious sometimes where I'm like, oh, I'm talking too much, or I'm talking about tennis too much, or somebody's getting annoyed by this or whatever.
Who give an F? You don't give an F. I can't go and say, hey, table. I don't want you to be a table. I want you to be an airplane, right? Right. I mean, you just can't change a character. Like you are who you are. You cannot change it.
Right.
Not far from, hey, you should, your table should become a frog, right? It's far-fetched. You can't do it. And there's no reason for you to be, okay, if I'm a lively, sociable person, why do people tell you that, hey, Chris, you talk too much, you need to be reserved?
I don't know. I mean, I agree with you.
Somebody somewhere implant that idea in your head that you should, in theory, need to be reserved because that's not this or that, whatever. It's like, who make up the rules that you should be this or that?
No one. I mean, but to your point, I've been told many times in my life.
So I'm the guy that can sit there for hours and people say, hey, why are you such a boring? Why are you so square?
Right.
I am who I am. If I'm a square, you can't ask me to be a circle. I mean, where do you get these ideas from to expect somebody to be different than what they are? And then when they do it, then you say, no, I want you to be the other one. So It's not like it's never the correct answer to anything, because when you are a square, they want you to be a circle. When you're a circle, you want to be a square, right? When you talk, they want you to stop. When you don't talk, they want you to talk.
No, you're very spot on, I think. And I agree. It's funny you say I'm a boring person. I think we've had this conversation for over 3 years now. I think I've asked you, what's new? And you're like, nothing. I don't think I've ever heard you say the day that you're like, oh my God, let me dish on a gossip for the day. You're going to be
because you think about it, right? If that day happens, right? It's either that's not me, right?
Right.
Or that's the end of it. You think about it. Let's say the world come crashing down. Do you think I become this panic person where, oh my God, right? You know me long enough to say, well, obstacle, come on, I'll take you on, right? That's the kind of person I am. I'm not going to say, well, I can't, right? To me, defeat me, take me away from this world, fine. But I'm not going to be the person that's going to go act different, because the moment that I am, I'm out of character. When I'm out of character, that's not who I am. It's someone else. Right? Or it's the end of me, because that is the end of this person, a beginning of a crazy person, or whatever else, whatever that person might be, because it's not the same person.
You're not the same person. This is not my reflection, but this is you just made me think about a time when I used to every Christmas we would go down to San Antonio, because that's where my wife is from. We haven't been down since 2020 because of the pandemic and because of Amelia and because of Luca and just being in the hospital. So they've come up the past couple of years just to make it easier for us. But every year for a decade, my wife and I would go back down to San Antonio for a week and spend time with her family for Christmas and whatever, all that good stuff. So they love to play a lot of board games. I'm a really competitive person. And so I love to play board games too, like, so like I remember this one Christmas Eve, maybe in like 2018 or something like that. We were playing Monopoly, which is the worst game to put me on because, like, I mean, I don't take prisoners in Monopoly. Like, I mean, it is no holds barred, whenever you put me on a Monopoly board. I'm not there
You gotta collect, you gotta pay for those hotels and those houses, right?
Oh, I like negotiate with people and I like play people off of one another, and I'm constantly like chattering the whole entire game of like, oh, you should be trading for this and this and this. And if you don't do that, I'll just give you this and this. And like, I'm creating chaos the whole entire time, like while I'm doing this, just because this is just the way my mind thinks. I'm strategizing for them, and then I'm putting them against my competitors.
Well, you're strategizing for yourself.
Felicia's family, her aunt and her cousin and her sister and her mom were playing Monopoly with me. So it was the 5 of us that were playing this game. And we're getting deep into it. It's like 2 or 3 hours into it. We've all probably had a few too many glasses of wine after the Christmas Eve festivities. They're all having a good time, joking around. Like, it's good to see my niece and my daughter's in town and my sister's home, and Felicia's having fun with her family. And I'm over there in my own little element, having a good time playing Monopoly, because I'm like, oh, good, I get to like try to beat some ass here. So I started to like So we're playing Monopoly and we're doing our thing. My wife is having fun around her family because she doesn't get to see them all the time, and they're all having a good time, joking, blah blah blah. And I'm in my element playing Monopoly, and I'm start to do my thing of like trying to put people against each other and like offering alliances and and like trying to team up on people. Her aunt wanted nothing to fucking do with this. She eventually one time she was getting so mad at me. Finally, and I love this. Like, talk about a battle of characters coming out. Like, she was like, "That's it, she's like, we're all fucking ganging up on you, and we are getting you out of this fucking game." So she systematically aligned the whole rest of the game against me to then take me out and slowly whittle me down. Every single thing, anytime that I offered anything or negotiated anything, it would immediately be like, "Okay, let's do this over here on the side just to piss Chris off." Slowly but surely, every single thing for the next 30 minutes after that was to systematically get me out of the game. I'm cracking up enjoying this entire thing the entire time, but it was symptomatic of who I am, right? This is exactly like, you don't want to play games with me unless you want to play a game, like, unless you are in it and you're.
But sometimes you have to play games with you. It's not a choice. I mean, like I said, we were talking about the life quest, right? You say, well, I don't want to be in life quest. Well, that's not up to you. You're alive. You're born. You're alive. You are on a life quest. It's a game, whether you like it or not, right? Agreed. You're gonna have to figure out how to play with Chris.
Right. Yeah, right. No, I guess in a weird way, you got to figure out how to play with everybody, right? In a lot of ways. But yeah, so I digress. Back to the tennis is a fighting character. So as I was saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. And a lot of my thoughts, like Monopoly is an example, and what we're talking about, how you show up every single day to this is an example. When I step onto a tennis court, though, is like I said, this is when my full elephant comes out on display for sure, and it's uncontrollable. I've been the same way since I was a kid. But here's some of the examples of characters that I've played over the years. On the other side of that, you got the calm player that takes everything, the player that takes everything way too seriously, the player that makes every excuse possible after every shot. It's the guy that's like, oh my god, well, I was like the ball skipped off the line or whatever, and and then the sun caught my eye, and then this happened, and you're like, okay, man, like after every shot, then you got the grinder that is over there just like, you're never gonna stop trying to get to every fucking ball and just moonball it back across the net, and then they just bounce back. It's just so frustrating watching that person. We're just like, oh god, like, you're not gonna try to beat me, but you're not gonna let me win. You know what I mean? You're gonna do everything you can to not let me win. Then you got the bully player, the one that just wants to intimidate you, where it's like, I'm gonna hit the ball really fucking hard, and you're gonna just bow down, kind of person, right? And if you don't, then they get pretty frustrated and they can't hit the shot twice or something like that. You got the never complain about any call player, right? Which is the person where you're like, they just choke it all down. You see a bad call and they're like, okay, and they just move on. Then you got the player that complains about every call, where it's like, oh, come on, that was in. No, I fucking called it out. Leave it. Like, you got the player that lies about calls, that cheats all the time.
Cheaters.
You got the cheater. You got the player that goes for too much in every shot. They think they're some pro level player, and every ball they're trying to rip the best looking winner that's ever made, and they only hit like 1 out of 10 shots in or something like that. And then they feel really good when they hit that one shot, but then the rest of the time you're like, well, you're losing the match, man. Like, what are you doing? You got the strategist player. You got the player that talks too much to himself. You got the player that breaks fucking rackets and throws temper tantrums. You got the player that, makes, I don't know. I could go on and on and on. Players that just want to like fuck with other players.
It's a myriad of characters.
Right. Myriad of characters that comes out in this court, right? But it never ceases to fail. As soon as the two of you walk into that arena, it is truly a battle of characters coming together and to see the mashup of your elephants being your most natural elephants, and you can't fucking stop it. And it's a beautiful thing to watch, right? Like I've wanted, and like I said, for years and years, I've wanted to not be who I was sometimes in the court, because who is Chris Sears on a tennis court, right? Like for the most of my life, I was a temperamental one-trick pony, meaning I love to be an aggressive person. I love to compete. Like I'm a grinder. I've always been a competitor. Like, you know, I'm not necessarily going to grind you down or something like that, but I'm definitely not giving any inches, and I'm not quitting. That's somebody that I don't quit. Oh, that's the other player I didn't mention, is the quitter. The one when they just get so down where they're literally, this only happened to me like maybe 2 or 3 times in my life, where somebody's just like, I don't want to play anymore, and just walked off the court. Like, you know, and you're like, what? Like, you can't do that. Like, you can't quit. Like, I don't care if you're getting, just take your fucking loss and get out of here. But you can't just quit without being injured or something like that.
But they did.
But that's their character, right? It's somebody that just fucking quits, you know? But, you know, for me, like my whole life, like this is who I was. I was a temperamental one-trick pony. That was my character that came out on a court. I would hit really hard, aggressive. I would try to assert my dominance on people. And if it didn't work, then it didn't work. I would get frustrated. I would get pretty mad. Lots of, you know, come on. When I was a kid, I used to throw my racket all the time. Like, I don't do that anymore, but I just get so fucking mad that I would chuck my racket into the fence and, you know, just really frustrated, right? And my mom used to get so mad at me. And she never told me, but she was like, I don't even want to watch you. I'm like embarrassed watching you sometimes. Like, you know, like, and to be fair, I probably would be too if that was like Luke out there doing some of the stuff that I was doing. Like, I'd be like, come on. Like, it's okay. It's just a game. And I'm like, you don't understand. It's not just a fucking game in my head. I'm trying to fucking beat somebody, and I'm not doing what I'm trying to do. Like, you don't understand. Like, this is frustrating to me, and I'm frustrated. When I get frustrated, I fucking, you know, voice it. Like, that is who I am, right? Like, and most of my life, though, like, this is who I was, right? I didn't really come with a lot of strategy. I didn't really warm up a lot. I didn't really care. It was like, throw them into the arena, and I'm going to fucking figure out how to use my few weapons that I had and beat somebody, right? Or not, and I'm going to get really frustrated. That's who I was. And, you know, for the most beyond that, when I was winning and I was doing good, I was happy-go-lucky, I was smiling, I was conversational with my opponents. When I wasn't, I was fucking pissed. I was despondent. I was like, you know, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, I walk off the court, like if I lost or something like that. Like I told you before, like I would just spend days sometimes in my head just remembering, replaying over and over, right? You know, it's like, this is who I was, this is who I am. After meeting Amelia, though, like a lot of the stuff has changed, right? I now understand myself way more than I used to, and that was through this whole YOML journey stuff that I've been on with Amelia, exploring life together, things like that. And now I own this way more, right? And I care way more about the stuff, and I use my values way more now to try to be the person that I want to be, not the person that the elephant. I try to train my elephant to be the person that we all want that person to be out on the tennis court. So now, like, I'm a completely different tennis player. Now I do strategize a lot before I go into each match. Now I do try to endure, you know, where if my weapons aren't working, I try to problem solve and I try to troubleshoot. I don't quit. Like I never quit. I've never been a quitter, but like I endure now. I just physically just endure, you know, through shit. I try to, like, you know, calm myself down and talk to myself and try to remind myself of my values while I'm out on the court. I try to, you know, use integrity and make sure that I never, you know, like when I was a kid, like I'm just gonna be honest with you, right? Like when somebody was an asshole on the other side of the net, I'm like, if you're a fucking asshole and you're that player and you're showing up as a battle of characters, I'm going to be a fucking asshole right back, because I'm not going to let somebody do that to me. So if you're hooking me on calls, I'm going to hook you right back. Like, I don't care. Just last night, I was playing pickleball. This is no joke. This is a perfect example. I was just playing an open play night in pickleball and having fun out there with somebody. Somebody hits this ball. There's a rule that you cannot go into the kitchen, the line right in front of the net, if you're hitting the ball out of the air before it's bounced. If it bounces in the kitchen, you can step in and hit it, but you cannot step in if the ball's in the air out of the net, like you're hitting a volley out of the air. So nobody noticed this. I hit a winner, and then I looked down and my foot was in the kitchen. I couldn't remember if the ball had bounced or not, if I hit it out of the air, and, you know, nobody else saw anything. Nobody else did anything. Like, we got the point. I was walking over to go serve the next shot. As I was getting ready to hit it, I go, and my whole head the entire time I was like, I think I was just in the kitchen. I know I was in the kitchen. And like the thought process went, that wasn't your point. Like, you didn't just win that. Nobody's saying anything. I could easily just hit the ball and just keep going on. Like, nobody noticed it. Like, but I was like, I fucking know that I just hit the ball out. I just did something illegal that we shouldn't have won that point, you know? And so as I was getting ready to serve it, I went, whoa. Like, this is like 10 seconds later. I was in the kitchen on that shot. And I was like, that's your guys' point. I went back to our normal spots before we just switched. I was almost ready to serve the ball. This is my point of how I think out on the, before I just would have been like, fuck it, who cares? Like, nobody said anything. Like, you know, can I get away with it? It would have been like the, my little Chris and, you know, raccoon shit going on. Like, oh, did anybody see it? Anybody see it? Did I get away with it? Did I get away with it? You know, that's who I was before, right? You know, I'm still a Mapache, but now I'm a controlled Mapache that goes, okay, like, I don't need, this isn't worth, you know, doing this right now, like, you know, kind of thing, right? So anyway, long story short, this is why I absolutely, you know, love tennis in general, and this is why I love this Yomo journey, is because it's connected me and Amelia to my values, to understand and guide myself and to be the person that I want to be. And when tennis is out there and it's a battle of character and what gets sliced open and what gets revealed, slowly but surely, that person is changing more and more into that person that I want to be. And I see it in my tennis game versus, you know, like, I've always been the same person, but now it's way more on purpose, right? Like, it's like I'm correcting myself. I'm correcting my elephant to try to be that person that I want to be.
Yeah, so I agree with you, the reflection. And I want to say that, you know, anything, not just tennis. Your character is what makes the action. And yes, there are certain cases where you are not who you are when you do certain things. But I think whenever you have something that you really, really passionate about, the thing that aligns with your core value, the elephant is always going to show. The character is always going to be revealed in that sort of activities. So tennis, especially tennis, because in tennis, you don't have time to think because it's a fast moving sport, right? So your elephant is the only one that can stay in the court, because if you think that your rider, your conscious thoughts, and it can play the game, say, okay, I'm going to hit this one in this way, I'm going to hit it with a curveball before you start hitting it, you will never get to the ball before you. So that I'm saying is, most of the activity we do, most action that we undertake, it's a fight of character. It is the character that makes the action. So if you are a certain way, you are, you know, it's an aggressive player, you will be aggressive. If you are this reserved person player, you will be a reserved player.
Yeah.
You're gonna be the, you know, the excuser. You will always be an excuser. Regardless of whether you play, you know, Monopoly or tennis, you are exactly the same person. You don't change. You, Chris, you are who you are. You cannot change who you are, right? Your competitiveness and your aggressive is still there. You still aggressive today. You're aggressive before and you're aggressive today, right?
Oh, yeah.
You get really, really, really frustrated when you can't get your way. You still are that person today, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But the thing that I get out of this reflection is that when you were younger, you are a one-trick pony. I mean, you only use one of your core values. I mean, your one core value leads everything, and you suppresses the other core values. As you get older, you develop the other core values, like, you know, the integrity. That integrity balances out the competitiveness of Chris. If you're an elephant, you can't change into a bird. You just can't do it, right? Yep. But because when you were younger, you're only honing on one particular core value, which is this fighter. You're like a fighter, right? That's probably your most dominant core values. I mean, it comes out, and you comes out on the Yomo as well. You can see you're that kind of guy that, you know, you're not gonna quit for whatever reason, and you exude that, and it still exude a very strong vibe of that, you know, core values even today. But because you have gone through different experiences, you have learned to develop the other skills that balances out. So in the end, I'm saying is what you did was not that, hey, you changed from one core value to the next core value. You just balancing out. So you become more of a balanced person now that you have gone through the obstacle, through the experience, and your character changed in a way, but it doesn't change from the fundamentals. So your competitiveness nature is still competitive, right?
Yep.
You're still fighting, but you're not as an asshole as before, because you have this integrity that you start developing and say, well, I want to be honest and I want to give the other guys a point. And that balances out that competitiveness. And so you have the other characteristic, like, so it makes you more of a well-rounded person. but only after you develop the other core values. So in the end, the common theme here is balance. If you balance because then you don't have just one core values, and especially human beings, we are so complex and dynamic.
Right.
We have much more, and I mean, it could be as 5, 100. I mean, more than that. I don't know, but I'm guarantee you that's more than what you think you would have. And I think that's the key, is to get to the balance of who you are as a person. Because like, if you telling me that you are changing to a different person, you're not. You're just living up to the core values that it was suppressed before. You're allowing the other core values to express itself, and it blends into this new modified person.
Yep.
So it's not like you changing from an elephant to an eagle. Say, hey, I was able to miraculously change from silver to gold and changing from elephant to lion or whatever. No, you just said before you didn't use some of the core values that suppressed, or you didn't have the ability to.
I didn't know it. I mean, like,
withdraw.
I knew they were there, but you think you do, but I didn't know. Like, I knew, but I didn't. Like, I knew it was there. Like you said, whatever you do, it comes out. Whether you know it or whether you don't know it, it's a totally different calculation, right? So whether you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it is way different than just doing it, right? Like, I mean, like the understanding level of it and spending time to figure out when you do need to balance yourself out, like when you feel like the scales have been tipped toward one direction, if I'm being too competitive, well, I'm playing Monopoly with family and friends or whatever. And it's like, okay, Chris, don't do it alone is one of my core values too. Like, and I don't want to offend my in-laws just because I'm beavering on purpose in a weird environment. It's like, hey, you don't got a beaver right now. Just take the L, have some drinks, like, hang out with your fucking, wife and family, you know what I mean? Like, and it's okay. Like, leverage another value to overcome.
Right, because to me, it's always a win, because when you suppress one, the other core value is going to win. So you still get a satisfaction. You still get the joy out of doing the thing that matters to you as that person that holds the DNA to that core values. Oh, okay. I'm kind of like cutting back on the competitiveness. I don't have to win all the time, right? Because the winning, that aspect of it, isn't give me this dopamine that I want, but the integrity does. So I still feel good, regardless if I give the points away or not. And so to me, it's about having the core values in alignment and in balance with one another, versus one is like completely extreme on one side and everything else, because you can't completely satisfy all the core values at once. A lot of times it's not possible. I mean, in some cases it does because there's overlap, but in certain cases where it is on the other side to counterbalance you. Because the thing is, it has a counterbalance, because you can't have everything on one end. So, it doesn't matter if you have a certain tendency of, or your entire balance is on the extremity of another scale, but on your particular scale, your balance have to counterweight itself. It cannot be like all on one versus another. A lot of times we suppress many other core values and only exude one, and that create this person that a lot of times when it doesn't go your way, you're one trick pony. You are stuck in the corner. You get so pissed off. You throw the rackets on the floor. You're breaking the rackets, whatever. Your whole entire existence is a miserable existence. Right. Versus now, what I have, okay, if I can't go through the boulder, I can go around it, right? I'm using the other dynamic elements I have, other tools I have to get myself the same goal is, okay,
so what is
my existence? How do I feel like, how do I feel my existence? Existence is, to me, life is supposed to be enjoyed, meaning that there's no purpose in life other than enjoying your existence. If you enjoy your existence, what's the point? That's why people get depressed, because they don't enjoy the existence anymore. That's when they go and they commit suicide and do many other things to approach an obstacle. Like I say, if you have a boulder that is stopping you on the road, you don't have to keep going through it. And if you don't have the capacity to go through a big boulder, you can get frustrated. I can't do anything. But then the thing is, if you have the core values or the tool set in your disposal, you can say, well, I can just drive around it. It takes me no time at all. And you feel good because it aligns with the core values on the other end, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Balance still come back to the key concept, key elements that we have, that we talk out throughout the last 3 years is, balance is essentially the center of gravity for life. I mean, I don't know about you, but you can't play tennis nonstop. There's has to be a balance, so that to me is something we need to
I'd
take
want
into
to. I mean,
consideration.
I would want to in my
But the
like
thing
in my
is,
in
life is
theory.
any path you take will have obstacles, but it is always optimal to have more tool sets in your tool belt, right? So that you can optimally deal with it. Because, like I
Apply
say,
it at the right
if I
time in the
give
right
if they
situation.
give you like a 1,000-ton boulder and I just plop it right in front of you when you were driving down the road, what are you gonna do? You're gonna sit there for like a couple of days trying to drill through the hole, right? Because you
Yeah.
have nothing else to do.
Right.
You got no other tools at your disposal to overcome the obstacle. So you are in that moment is in a miserable state because what you want to do isn't what you're doing. You're doing something else to get to do what you want to do, right? So the time you spend drilling the boulders or the rocks or whatever, that is like fucking work. You don't want. You say, hey, this interval of my life, it just sucks.
Right.
Because I don't want to sit here and say, this is just another problem to deal with. So when you look at obstacles that way, right, it becomes a miserable existence. Because
Right.
for us, like to me, it doesn't matter what you do. It's like, hey, when you have money, oh, I have money problem, right? Meaning like, okay, when I don't have money, I still have my problem. When I have money, I still have my money problem, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's perspective. If you don't have any of the tools, it's perspective. Because okay, if I have no money, well, I have money problem. When I have money, well, I have money problem because people are going to see my money. Because
That's true. Yeah. As P Diddy said, excuse me, man.
that's you.
Oh man, more money, more problems, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. It doesn't matter because you are your perspective of it, regardless of what environment you have, you still have an obstacle, but you have different tools. You develop these sets of core values. Other one, because it's a counterweight, is gonna be like just rock, like the game rock paper scissors. Well, you have a rock, well, someone else is gonna beat the paper. Well, you have paper, well, someone else is gonna beat the. So the opposite of one of the core values is the weakness is the strength of the other core values. So
Yeah.
it's able to easily solve obstacles. When you take that kind of a tool set in the path that you walk, you will always have obstacles. Doesn't matter what path you take, you will
There's
encounter obstacle. But because you have a tool set, those obstacles is nothing in your view. It's nothing in your perspective because you're able to figure out how to be creative in finding solutions to whatever that comes your way.
There's a big caveat though. Only apply your tools. Like this journey has also helped me to understand how much I love certain things. Like I've loved tennis my whole life, but I didn't know that I loved it. Like yeah, I mean I didn't know that. I mean I knew it, but I didn't know it. I didn't know why. I didn't know. Like my point being is like I
know
found
it, but you
myself.
didn't know why.
Well, no, I don't know that I even knew it. Like I knew that I always was drawn to go do this stuff.
It's
right?
like it's like, hey, I'm eating cake. I love cake.
It's just there. But that's what I'm saying. Is like that's a great example, right? Of like, oh, somebody plops carrot cake in front of you, and you love carrot cake with cream cheese frosting.
I love anything that has coconut on it, right?
There you go.
I don't care if it's coconut water, coconut cream, coconut oil. I just love coconut. I know I do. I just don't know why, right? So that's the thing is, you kind of do know.
you know, but you don't really think about it, right? Like you're like, oh, carrot cake is here. Like, but you do know that you like something or you love something, but like you necessarily don't know like how to harness that, right? So like I would say there's a 2-point component to what you're talking about, because the other part of this journey with Amelia has been like I understand what a lot better what I love and what I don't love these days. Not only do I understand the tools to leverage to make sure that I can continue to do what I love and to find other ways to stay balanced doing what I love. Also, just identifying what I love and what I didn't love. Like, like I think I've told you this, but from when I was 22 years old, right after I graduated college until I was like 28, I think, or something like that, I didn't play tennis. I wasn't in college anymore. I wasn't playing intramural sports. To be fair, I didn't play that much in college. I only would play intramural tennis, and every once in a while I'd go out and hit with some friends. But it wasn't a big part of my life in college. When I graduated and I moved somewhere, that was the last thing on my mind.
I mean, to me, it's like if you say, okay, right now I love to eat, right? I love to eat cake. I love to eat coconut, German chocolate cake, whatever. I love it. But imagine you throw me into some kind of, let's say you throw me into a predicament, some kind of like a prison or whatever. You're talking about the Maslow's pyramid, right? Because whenever it gets to the survival mode, you don't think about the thing that when you have to solve the solutions of survival first before the other going, because it suppresses it. Because when you say, well, I play tennis, but when you were, in a time when you took that break, there are other things that was crucial to your survival. So that
was in urgent and important mode, like I was all the urgent and important things versus the stuff that was the love quadrant is not urgent but important. Like that's love, right? Like it's important in your life, but it's not urgent. Like tennis has never been an urgent thing for me, right?
Like I said, there's Maslow's pyramid because the survival has to come first. Because the thing is, like I say, what's the point of loving tennis if you can't survive?
Nothing.
Right? I can't go and lie on my parents anymore. I have to go and work. I have to go figure out how to make a career so that I can make money to put on a table, right? And that is the only thing that's on your mind at that point. Everything else gets suppressed. And so to me, that's a natural human tendency to get that break. But that doesn't mean that you don't love it. It's just that the survival trumps it.
Yep. I agree. So that is fair. Like you got to handle urgent and important stuff, right? But at the same time, like that was like a really just click something in my head when I said first thing is first quadrant. The quad 2 is love. Like that's the love quadrant. Like that is really what it is. It's like that's love and work, right? Like that's your love quadrant. Like, whatever you love to do is never going to be urgent, like it's just, you just love it. Like no, unless it just so happens to be urgent. We got to blow the whistle on the day and wrap up here because I'm late to another meeting, but we decided to do this in the middle of the day. All right. Final thoughts or final question we can leave for you all is what character traits do you want revealed to the world through your actions? So like Drew said, I think this is a really important fundamental learning that I've learned from you today that I didn't really think about beforehand, which was like it's you can be a multidimensional person pulling the different levers. That way it'll help you to be the person that you ultimately want to be versus that one trick pony kind of something where you just know you love something, but you don't know totally why, and you don't know exactly what you want somebody to understand as the expression of that love and how you want them to perceive that. So I think that was really something I enjoyed. Any final thoughts?
More money, more problems.
Yeah. That's right.
No money, no problems.
So problems. You have problems, go solve them.
You always have problems.
Exactly.
Be the path.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Have a good one, and I will see you tomorrow.